this man hit her with a brick, and there were tons of men standing around, and no one did anything.
Pretty much anybody, no matter how loco they might be, can acknowledge that a man hitting a woman is unacceptable.
Well, sister, you must not have Twitter. And it's just so discouraging seeing all of these hot takes about this woman they know nothing about. Not only do you know nothing about, it's like, do you hear what you're saying? Like,
right.
Are you seeing what you're saying? Can't relate to cancel culture, hookup culture, or victim culture.
Well, neither could we. We created this platform for those other girls. Girls like us who want to give a different perspective from a Christian and conservative worldview.
We talk about life, work, relationships, pop culture, and everything in between. So let's be those other girls that just don't talk about culture,
but change culture.
Hello, everyone. You are listening to Those Are the Girls with Mallory and Friends. I'm Mallory.
And I'm Freeman.
And we are changing culture and bringing back traditional values. Welcome, ladies. We're super excited for you to be listening to this podcast. We talk a lot about faith and femininity, and just so you're aware, this will be your new favorite podcast. So just go on ahead and leave 5-star review. Go ahead and write on the Apple Podcast a lovely review of how much you enjoyed the show, something you may have learned, a little bit about how you were entertained. That's what we promise to do. We promise to entertain and to educate, and we got a lot of things to educate on today.
We really do. I'm so excited for this episode. How have you been?
I've been good. As always, this is my favorite thing to do this week. Even though I did have a good chunk of this week off, so that's been fun. Been catching up on some TV shows. I have a fun question for you guys.
Yes, you do.
But Freeman, tell us, how have you been? How is being 22?
22 is great. Elise actually got me 4-week pass to her gym. It's called Burn Boot Camp, which honestly I was a little bit scared about because I've been to a Burn Boot Camp. Like, I did their trial period and it was intense. I left feeling weak, spiritually, emotionally, physically, all of the above. It was not for me, honestly. Like, it was fun, but it wasn't like I felt like it was like normal, like what I would normally do, you know? And then I noticed that she had said she was going. So I was like, oh my gosh, we should just try to go together. So anyways, long story short, her being so sweet got me a 4-week pass for my birthday. So that has been really fun to just kind of get outside my comfort zone because it's a very intense workout. Like, it's very like in your face, loud music, like yelling, like grunting, sweating, like throwing weights. And so, as you might know, like, I'm more of a yoga nut. Like, I would rather just like stretch and Pilates and bar class and maybe some Zumba. So it's been really fun to get out of my comfort zone. I'm very tired. Plus, my mom got me a NutriBullet for my birthday.
Ooh,
so I've been thinking of some ways to like throw in like my veggies and my fruits and protein. So it's just been really fun. And I feel like 22 is going well. So how are you, Mallory?
That's good. That's good. So we have a lot to discuss this week. So we're going to kind of keep it a little short. I have done 2 things this week. I caught up on some shows and started rewatching another show. And I also, 2 seconds, I did some jewelry things. For those who don't know, I have a jewelry store, shopthepinkrose.com. And a really cool conservative pro-life influencer is going to be wearing a piece coming up. I'm not going to say who or what it's for, but it is custom handmade by moi. So you guys are going to be seeing that coming out soon.
That's so cool. Good for you.
Thank you. I'm excited for her to wear it. So that's one of the things that I did. The second thing is I am taking one for the team. I'm biting the bullet, and I'm going to finish Riverdale. I'm doing it for you guys. I know.
Wait, you're going to finish what?
Riverdale. The TV show Riverdale. Yes.
Got it.
I'm doing it for you guys. I stayed on for Pretty Little Liars. I stayed the whole time. I'm one of the few who watched it from beginning to end. I technically did not do that with Riverdale because it just got to be too outlandish. It made no sense. It lost the plot.
Yeah.
Oops,
A lot of
spoilers.
shows do. I feel like you're with it for like 3 seasons and then like
It becomes a different
5,
show.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You're just like, who even are these people?
Yes. They jumped the shark. Like, okay, first season of Riverdale, for those who had watched it, so good. Good TV, almost as good as Pretty Little Liars. After that, it just started to get a little bit crazier, and they just kept jumping the shark. There's that famous line where Archie is in juvie, and this guy explains how he had to work because his family didn't make enough money. So Archie said, "Oh, so you understand the highs and lows of football," something like that. And it's like, no, Archie, this juvenile who has had a tough life does not understand the highs and lows of high school football because he couldn't go to school because he was working to pay for his family. So no. So, had those little silly things. Oops, spoilers. They're going to fight the devil the season I'm on. I don't understand how the devil got into Riverdale. Remember, this is a sweet, wholesome comic. Every time I'm like watching it, my dad comes in, he's like, I don't understand. I'm like, yeah, you wouldn't. Like, and my dad like read those when he was younger, so like he's just as confused as the rest of us. So I'm gonna finish. I'm gonna do oops spoilers about it. It's crazy. The season makes no sense. But yeah. So that's one show. Second show I am watching, and this is going to lead to a segment that I really enjoy doing, and you guys let us know if you like it when we kind of start off with a fun question. So Freeman, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to paint the picture. It is this show called Dollhouse, and the premise is, one day you're down on your luck. Somehow you run into this company. All you have to do to get $50 million, I believe it's $50 million. Let's say it's $50 million. All you have to do is just give them your body for 3 years. That's it. You won't have to worry about a thing. You don't have to pay rent. You don't have
your body, like
your physical body. What they
how
do.
do you just give someone your body without like
being attached? You sign this contract, and what they do is they wipe your brain. So you are living in a dollhouse in this like center with a bunch of other people who've signed the contract, and you're kind of just like a doll. You can't really think, you can't process. And when someone needs to hire someone to do something for a large fee, they'll call the dollhouse, and the dollhouse will send them one of these humans. For example, this man.
Why would someone need a body for a good reason?
Well, listen. Listen. So this gentleman, really sweet, nice, older gentleman, he his wife passed away, and he hasn't been able to find love with anyone else.
And
it's
now
her anniversary.
He needs your body to feed his sexual desires.
Well, no, he did not have sex. He did not have sex. He just wanted a companion, someone to talk to.
Oh, no, that's so sweet.
It's actually pitiful, but yes.
No, I'm being dramatic.
Oh, you're being sarcastic. Okay. It's actually quite pitiful.
Yeah.
So I hadn't even asked the question yet, so you're going to go ahead and say no, you would not.
Okay. I cannot think of a good reason someone needs to buy a human body. Okay. Even the one you think you laid out, Mallory, is not giving wholesome vibes.
That's
I think it's
literally the only wholesome one I can think of. Another time they did for an assassin, they needed an assassin to break into a bank.
Mean, literally.
Yeah, things like that. So
I also want to say, I was listening to Classy Chicks today, and they were talking about Sound of Freedom. Anyways, we know that's controversial, but she was talking about how the movie mentioned that God's children are not for sale. And that made me think about this question, because if you're selling your body in any aspect, you are selling yourself.
Freeman, that's a good point.
So, and I know in the Sound of Freedom it meant like actual children, but of course we're all God's children. So, and we're not for sale, period. Doesn't matter if it's $50 million. Doesn't matter if it's $30 for an hour. Doesn't matter. We're not for sale. What would you do?
So, I want to say I would not do it. And I think if I ran it by any person in my life, they would shame me enough to say I would not do it.
I would not shame you. I would not shame you. I completely understand.
You wouldn't.
I completely understand needing money.
I showed James the show. He immediately said, "This is human trafficking." And I said, "Wow, that is such an interesting take."
Except it's consensual.
But I definitely see where I can see how he would arrive to that conclusion. And then I no longer want to discuss the show with him. But anyway,
like, conversation over, you don't get me.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't think I don't think I would, but I definitely understand because, like, you don't have to pay, and you don't know what has happened. Like, it's like you've slept for 3 years. I could use a break. I mean, I could use a nice sleep.
You would be guaranteed, like, pretty much. I mean, honestly, let's think about it. Is $50 million that much? I mean, you need, like, what is it? You need like $1 million to retire, right?
Right. Probably.
I mean, how much is it? How much does it cost to live? I've heard it costs $250,000 a year to have a child. I mean, is $50 million really even that much?
Well, it's also untaxable because this is an illegal business. So, you get to keep all 50 million. It's untaxable and untraceable. So, no, I'm
sure it's traceable, Mallory. $50 million. That's is true, not
but it's untaxable. There's no tax.
My Wells Fargo account would be like.
Oh, they would report me immediately in my bank account. They'd be like, $50 million. This girl's
never even deposit like 500 without people being like,
So in reality, I wouldn't, because I think you made a very good point. Like, at the end of the day, you are still in your body. But just, let's say we take away, like, heaven and hell doesn't exist, God doesn't exist. In this fantasy world, would you do it? In a fantasy world, heaven and hell doesn't exist, God doesn't exist.
In a fantasy world, I would already have all my needs met.
Okay, Freeman. Okay, it's in a fantasy world where all of your needs are not met.
I feel like you're trying to get me to say something that I'm not gonna say, Mallory. I'm like Ron Swanson. When I feel like someone's getting me to say something, I fall silent.
Well, then I will say it. In a world where none of that stuff matters, I can see, especially a younger version of me, being like, let's just try it. Only because, like, the positive will be you're getting a break. Oh, you work out, so you're gonna have a nice body when you're done.
Not if someone's defiling you.
And I would put in my contract that I can only do wholesome.
Well, if you could put that in your contract, sure, I'd do it.
Like wholesome outings where, like, someone needs a babysitter. And to be honest, if you can guarantee that I won't be arrested, I think it'd also be fun to try a bank robbery thing too. Just to try it. If I would, in this fantasy world, and I'm not going to get in trouble.
You're traumatizing. Just the adrenaline rush.
Well, okay, so in the episode, it was like one of those, it was like in the vault. So nobody except for the people that were doing it knew about it.
And God.
This is a fantasy world. But remember, there's no God in this fantasy world.
Okay, Mallory. We said we would be quick.
You guys let us know.
You're not accepting my response. It's a community where women feel heard.
Let us know if you would do it. Realistically, for the record, I probably would not do it. I'm just being funny, and I took the question seriously though when I'm rewatching, and I took it seriously. Like, would I? $50 million is a lot of money. Let us know. Let us know
like a dilemma for sure.
Let us know if you would do it. All right, we have so many stories to get into. Buy our merch, go to the app, do the Patreon. I'll talk more about that another day. We have a lot of Did You Hears. Did You Hear is a segment we're doing that we're talking quick. Sometimes a lot of things happen and we want to talk about it, but there's not really anything like, oh, this happened. There's nothing to really discuss about it. This Did You Hear is brought to you by Culture of Life, 1972. For those that don't know, their new fall line is out. You should get it. And
so cute.
Super cute. There's this like brownish dress that I keep looking at. I'm obsessed with it. Use our code, Those Other Girls 1972, and you get 10% off. All right. So the first Did You Hear? There was a Nebraska, a Nebraska women's team. In Lincoln, Nebraska, they broke a world record for attendance at a women's sporting event. It was last Wednesday at the University of Nebraska. The crowd had 92,003 counting all ticket sales and teams and event personnel, which topped the previous one, which was 91,648. That was set last year, which was the semifinal match between Barcelona and Spain. So that was really cool. Group of girls, volleyball. Okay. Did you hear?
I did not hear. That's really fun. That's amazing.
Okay. Next one. Did you guys hear about Tracy Cyrus? He is Miley Cyrus's brother. He posted on Instagram, and it actually got a lot of backlash because people were really upset about him for it, but I'm going to read the post. This is what he said. There's so many girls that do OnlyFans that have lost their chance of ever settling down with a good guy with morals. They will try and call those men insecure for having standards. They get a lot of attention from guys on OnlyFans, so they think they have options. But any guy who is desperate to see sexual content that they are willing to pay for is a desperate loser. Whew, tell him.
Wow.
A lot of successful guys will sleep with those girls, but they don't want to wife them. I see a lot of these girls speaking out on this now, saying they can't get a serious relationship. It's because men see the value in those girls strictly for sex. I'm not going to read the whole thing, actually. It's long, but it's really cool. Hopefully more people will follow in this trend. And this is Miley Cyrus's brother. He said he no longer wants to go by Miley Cyrus's brother. He's the front man for a band, but I'm sorry, you're Miley Cyrus's brother.
Also, I just want to say I don't agree that you've ruined all chances. There's nothing God can't redeem. Continue.
Oh, you know what? I agree with that aspect as well. Nothing God can't redeem. And let's be honest, I know that he's saying that, but like tons of people who do that, they do end up married, but you still don't want to do it. Because there's yeah, we'll leave it at that. Okay, did you hear about that?
No.
Okay, another did you hear?
Now you have.
I don't know how to. Anyway, tell us if you guys like the way we're doing this. Okay, so last week we talked about. I really want to talk about this for 2 seconds because last week we talked about influencers like mommy bloggers and everything like that. Well, last week after we recorded, a YouTuber, Ruby Frank. She is the 8 passengers. She has that YouTube channel, which I'm pretty sure is taken down now. She got arrested for child abuse. She and her business partner were arrested for 6 felony accounts of child abuse.
Jeez.
Yeah. How it all came about was her son, malnourished, it says, bravely escaped from Jody Helberson's house with open wounds and duct tape on his wrists and ankles. He sought help from the neighbors, asking for food and water. Following the neighbors' call to the police, officials discovered Ruby's 10-year-old daughter, Eve, in Hildebrandt's home in a similar state. Both children were taken to the hospital, with the young boy being placed on a medical hold due to his severe injuries and malnourishment.
What the heck? That's crazy. I did not hear about that.
And it's also a reminder that just because you see people smiling in front of a camera and doing all this X, Y, and Z doesn't mean you know anything about their life. People show you what they want to show you.
Mm-hmm. Including us.
Including us. And you know what? Let me tell you, even if I'm having a really bad day and I've cried and sobbed, you're not going to catch me on camera. That's just not me. You might see a picture of me. Life is going, well, no, I'm not going to say life is going great, but smiling and maybe a stupid thing about Barbie. You're like, that's just not, and that's okay. Like, you don't have to show every sad moment of your life, and because you know that the people that you look up to, they're thinking the same thing, you know?
All right. Don't be fooled.
Don't be fooled. Last, did you hear? Tampon tax has been eliminated in Texas.
Woo-woo.
A new law went into effect last Friday that eliminates the sales tax on feminine hygiene products, including items like tampons, menstrual pads, and menstrual cups. In addition, the menstrual products, the law SB 379, also eliminates the sales tax on family care items, including diapers, baby bottles, baby wipes, maternity clothes, and breast milk pump products.
That's amazing.
Cool? Yeah. Now all we need is every state to fall in line.
I feel like in so many ways, conservatives are like actually the liberal ones. We're here being like, we don't want taxes. Well, I guess.
Well, I will say, if you listen to the average, I'll say Conservative Inc., about this, they're going to say, oh, well, it's not that big of a deal taxing tampons or whatever. I think, and I used to think, and the reason why I'm saying this, I used to think that too. I used to be like, yeah, we can take the tax too. Like, we can totally, like, tax the diapers. But really, if you're trying to make a country that is family friendly, and if we're going to say family is the bedrock, what holds our culture together, then we should be doing things to, it's not going to hurt to not tax diapers. It's not going to hurt to not tax tampons. And these are
also
things
like pregnant parking spaces on campus. Like, right. What's the issue, people?
These are easy, simple things. And you know what? Yes, pregnant women should get special treatment. If that's going to be your argument, yes, they should. They're carrying another life. Are you?
Yeah. Just like how anybody with a physical, barrier gets care and priority.
Yes. I like how you were. yes.
Yeah. I didn't want to say disability because you're not disabled if you're pregnant, but like if you have a physical barrier, society should support you and encourage you and uplift you and accommodate you.
Yes. So I love it. Let's continue this. Conservatives take notes. This is a good idea. And once again, like when you start shaping, I think a lot of things come down to what is the bedrock? What are you trying to say is the foundation? And once you start building things on that foundation, that's how you can start making laws. That's how you start shaping your society and your culture. All right. Now we're going to get into the main stories. We have 4 really good ones, 3 videos, and we have just so much to get into. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Blink. Okay. So our first story is a little wacko. It's by the Daily Mail. Dylan Stone Miller, 32, who fathered, are you guys ready? 96 children when he started donating sperm in college to earn money, reveals how he quit work to track down his offspring, whose names and birthdays he listed on a spreadsheet. Dylan
How else
Stone
would
Miller.
You list their name and birthdays?
What'd you say?
How else would you remember their names and birthdays?
Of course, 96. What's his name? Nick Cannon and Elon Musk should be taking notes.
Oh, geez, no.
Dylan Stone Miller said that he has met 25 of his biological brood, the product of several donations of blah, 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 blah. Dylan Stone Miller said he has met 25 of his biological children, the product of a series donation he made for the $100 a piece starting in college. I'm sorry, sperm is just $100? That's crazy. The 32-year-old began donating while studying at Georgia State after an arrest that saw him in need of money for an attorney. Stone and Miller has since become a software engineer with a son of his own, a life he thrusts to the side after being contacted by the parents of one of his kids. I will link the rest of the article. It's crazy. This gentleman is he's different. Freeman, you like
I love that he's trying to have a relationship with them. I think credit where credit is due. You know, he instead of contributing to more crime, he did what he believed was right or could get some money quickly. Let's do the math. 94 times 100 is $9,400, right?
Yeah.
So yikes. I imagine that would pay for an attorney if you had like a misdemeanor or something.
Yeah.
I'm glad that he's trying to rekindle these relationships, and I wish everybody involved good luck. What do you think?
I think it's bonkers. $100 per sperm, that's very low to me. I don't know why. I mean, I don't know how much sperm goes for these days, but
I'll look it up.
I would think thousands, but I guess maybe not, because it's easier to get sperm than it is to get an egg, if we're being honest. So that's crazy. Yes, it's good, I guess, that he wants to be in their life, because all of these children do need a father. And he is their biological father. So they do, if we're going to say children's rights are above like children have rights to their biological mother and father, if we're going to say that, then yes, he should get to know them and he should be in their life. If for whatever reason I had to use his sperm, I would question, this just seems so crazy to me. So I definitely would want to get a background check on this gentleman before I let him in my house. I would want to, like, even though he's their father.
Your uterus.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be like, okay, are you still in the mark? Like, do you still give out sperm? Like, I would, and I would feel weird, just like that, Our Father Netflix documentary. Did you see that? About the man who did it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And about how that girl said she, like, holds her breath every time she gets a notification from, Ancestry.com, because who knows, she could have another sibling. So, like, that's, to me, that's just, like, I don't know. Like, it just,
I mean, we could do a whole philosophical talk about whether or not sperm donation is
moral.
Yeah. I'm not sure if we're ready for that. I'm not sure if the viewers are ready for that.
No.
But I think it's fair to say that if you do plan to do it, definitely consider that every donation could and likely will result in a child. Like, this is not, this isn't a game. This isn't like for testing or like you're doing some biological trial run of something. Like, it's so that a baby can be made. And I don't know if donating 94 plus times, if he knew that and like accepted that he could father that many people.
And they do target
PSA.
Seriously. And they do target college students, because the thing is, I think you're not really thinking like that. Women who donate their eggs too, you're not really thinking like, this is a potential human life. Like, my DNA is going to be in another human being who I may or may not get to know, who may or may not have So I think that it's just people just that at that age, I don't think you think it's that serious. And I think until recently, the mainstream didn't think twice about it. Because I've mentioned it before. I've thought about doing, not donating, but like freezing my eggs. And that was a huge plot line on the Mindy Project show for college girls to freeze their eggs. Like, it was just kind of, you're not thinking fully through the whole concept. And that's why I think they target college students. But I mean, I guess maybe he's thought it through now with his spreadsheets and everything.
I mean, hey, we appreciate a good spreadsheet.
Yeah. Well, our next story is brought to you by mirror.co. If you have been on TikTok as well as Twitter for more than 5 minutes this past week and a half, you know this story. It's going to be one of three, and we're going to do all three. Okay. We're going to do the first one. The girl who was hit in the face with a brick. A brick. So a woman's horrific injuries after a man hurls a brick at her face for refusing to share the number. A viral video, which posted on Instagram on Sunday, reportedly shows a woman named Roe Bashy in Texas documenting, I don't know what is wrong with my tongue today, her experience of allegedly being hit by a brick as a group of men watched on. The woman has been left with horrific facial injuries after a man allegedly hurled a brick at her face because she refused to give him her number. There has been a lot of talk on this topic. I mean, actually, when I got home today, my brother was like, "Have you heard the latest discourse?"
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, literally. So the overall consensus or the overall conversation is around this question I'm going to ask Freeman, and I'm asking you guys. She was upset because this man hit her with a brick, and there were tons of men standing around, and no one did anything. All of these men just stood there. And the big question on everyone's mind is, do random strange men have an obligation to help random strange women? Freeman, would you like to go first?
I think they I think if you believe in the dignity of every human being, yes. If you have a mentality that's all for one for all, I'm not getting involved, then philosophically, not doing anything is consistent. But if you believe in the dignity of every human being and you believe that their right to life is equally important as your right to life, then I think you absolutely should get involved. What does getting involved look like? It could look like physically stopping the person. That might be risky for a series of reasons. You never know who has a gun, especially, these days, depending on what state you're in.
Fair.
I think it could look like calling the police. It could look like filming it. I talked to Andy about this, and he said that if it were him, he likes to think he would get involved in some way. Being in a group is also shown to have a failure rate in things like this because that herd mentality of either A, it's not as bad as we think it is, or B, someone else in the group has called the police or is doing something. Therefore, I don't need to do anything. So it could have been a series of things like that, but I absolutely think something needed to happen. And that's why the herd mentality is so
dangerous,
problematic, and dangerous. Because if you're alone, you're much more likely to be like, whoa, what's going on? If you're with people, especially if you're with coworkers or you're with people that you think, you're inferior to, you're much less likely to step out of that norm and do something risky, especially if it could risk yourself, the people around you. You don't know. It could risk your social status. It could risk all kinds of things. So while I think those are valid, I don't think that any of that is a valid reason to accept another person's harm and detriment, especially a woman. I mean, pretty much anybody, no matter how loco they might be, can acknowledge that a man hitting a woman is unacceptable.
Well, sister, you must not have Twitter.
Oh my gosh. Okay, what do you think?
I'm going to throw some things at you and then I'll give my opinion. I'm going to throw some things at you. I want to hear your thoughts on this. So first of all, I like how you said getting involved could include calling 911 and things like that. I don't think anyone has mentioned that at all. Everybody is stuck on the fact of getting in there, stopping him physically, getting so that she is not hit. So I think that's what everyone is kind of focusing on. But I really like that you said the 911 thing, because to be honest, that completely slipped out of my mind too. Now, this man is coming at this woman with a brick. Do you still think you should step in if he is hitting her with a brick, and you might be hit with a brick in your head? You have a family, you have a wife, you have kids. If it hits you in your head, you can get brain damage. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know if other women necessarily should, because
men.
Okay.
Let's talk about men, because let me tell you, the people who are talking the most about it are the men, and they have thoughts, but keep going.
I'm not sure that you're required to take a bullet for someone else that you don't know. I do think, though, if it's inevitable, I think at least record it. I mean, we can all agree that
that does help.
That does help. And that can, and I think yelling and recording, I don't feel like, you need to step, because I'm just thinking about this actually taking place. How would you step in between? I feel like distract the person, or try to calm them down, or reorient their thinking, or throw them off, or tell them the police are coming, or tell them that you've got it on video, or tell them unless they stop, you're going to call the police. I don't know. I feel like there are other ways.
There's steps before it got to that.
I think. And I also imagine, I'm really having a hard time believing that she just said, like, "Oh, sorry, sir, like, I'm taken," or "Sorry, sir, like, I don't think, that I'm gonna give you my phone number. Thank you, though, that I'm flattered," and then he hits her. Like, I feel like there's escalation. I don't feel like we're getting the story. So what do you think?
Okay, so let me give you a little bit more information. Over the past couple of days, they have found her TikToks and her Twitters and things. She has said how much she hates men. Things like that. Like,
I would hate men if I was hit in the brick.
This
if I was
is
hit in the face with a brick.
before the brick situation.
Okay.
So in the past, before the brick situation, she talked about how she hates men and how women are superior. She apparently is known to being kind of like a troublemaker. There's a video of her. I don't know the context at all, but she just walks up to this random man, slaps him, walks away, and then twerks. Now, I don't know if this man consented to the slap. The video, they're making it seem like this. She just randomly slapped a man, then twerk, and I just can't. Once again, that's hard for me to fathom that she would just come up to a random man, slap him, and then twerk. But then also, I can't fathom what would be the point of consenting to someone slapping you then twerking. I don't know. This woman has there's a lot of more context, I guess you could say, to it. So with everything that we know, kind of ish now, I agree there has to have been an escalation. So I'm going to go backwards. So I definitely think there has to have been an escalation. I think you make a very good point. It's hard for me to believe that it went, "Oh, no, sir, thank you." What do you mean, you B word?
Yeah.
It's hard for me to believe that. Could that have happened? Sure. I haven't really seen that happen. I've seen people get up, and I'm not blaming women. And I'm not blaming this woman either. Like, no one should be hit with the brick. Let's start off with that. No one should be hit with the brick. Let it be said, we do not condone brick hitting people. But
while it is creative.
Right. While it is creative, you could use your creativity to do other things.
Yeah.
You know what? For me, that's another good point. When I heard a brick, I was like, this doesn't make sense. Let me do some more research on this. A brick? What?
Who has a brick handy? In
her face, like, you guys should just look up the picture. It's horrific. Like, horrific.
She was definitely hit with a brick. That is
we
not
know for sure. Like, if we're questioning anything else, we do know this woman has been hit with a brick. Okay, there's no doubt about that. So, okay, so going micro then macro. When women, once again, not blaming women, if we're approached by a man and someone asks for your number and you don't feel comfortable giving it to them, you don't have to give it to them. You can. I know in the comments, some people, especially at the beginning when we didn't know everything, people were saying, well, I have a fake Google number. I have another phone that I give them, which, that seems a bit much to me. But if that makes you feel comfortable, sure.
I've done that.
Some people carry pepper spray. Some people keep that thing on them. I mean, whatever you need to do to protect yourself is perfectly fine. I do not think it makes any sense to treat another human and go, "Ha! You give you my number?
Oh,
right. One of this girls. He's asking for, like, let's be honest with ourselves. I don't know if this girl did that. I'm talking in general. Let's be honest with ourselves. We've seen girls do that. There is no reason to do that. A simple, no thank you, sir. Keep walking. Or here's a number, and, you give them a fake number. Someone said they give their boyfriend's number. Some people, which I think would be hilarious. Some people say they give their dad's number, their brother's number. Do whatever you think is necessary to protect yourself. Making fun of another human being is not protecting yourself. So that's just something.
That leads to suicide.
Yes. That's just something that I was thinking of when I was thinking about the whole situation. Pulling out more. The idea of does a random man, would I expect a random man to step in and stop someone from hitting me with a brick if it escalated to that part? I think you might have said it, or I thought this in my head. I don't see myself in a situation where it escalates to that part. Someone who was cooked on Twitter, I mean, the girlies were mad at her for saying this, but I kind of agree. She said something like, the people who protect you would be like your brother and your father. your husband, your boyfriend. Like,
they have an obligation. They have a covenant with you that they will put themselves in harm's way to protect you.
Yes.
And vice versa.
Yes. And did you watch the video? Yes, that's what she said. Vice versa.
I just know what you're about to say.
And vice versa. And how is it vice versa? This is how she said, you obey them. Now, okay, you hear like obey, and she shouldn't have used the word obey because that for everybody, but this is what she means. If you're, for example, my brother, you know what? I don't think you should go, let's say my brother, my group of friends and his group of friends end up seeing each other out in Uptown one night. That's where we live. And we're about to start heading in a direction, and he goes, hey, I don't think you should head over there. That it doesn't look good things are happening over there. I, as a woman and as like a decent human being, should go, ding, 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 this is my brother. He cares about me. If he's saying this probably isn't good over there, let me not go over there. So what she was trying to say is like, that's kind of like quote unquote obeying. So like listening to when they are saying things like, hey, don't go over there. Another example she said is like, if you're somewhere and like there's a shootout and, you know, your father says, get down. It doesn't make sense for you to be like, I'm not going to get down. I'm going to do whatever I want. No, you get down.
I'm an independent woman.
Exactly. There's no point of doing that. So I think like that. So she basically said that, and the girlies did not like that. And I understand, you know, some of the language she used, but like if you actually think
what
about,
did she mean in the context of this though?
That she wouldn't have been in the situation. She should not have been in the situation. That woman, the brick woman, should not have been in the situation because she is a known like going places where she shouldn't be, loudmouth. Like her town knows her.
That feels a lot like victim blaming. I'm sorry.
No, I don't disagree that it feels victim blaming. I think that when you pull out of the situation, like how do you avoid doing this? How do you, regular girl, avoid being in the situation? I think that is more of the lesson. You know what I mean? Like,
but we don't know that she was in a bad area. She could have been walking to work, you know?
Well, oh no. Okay. So I guess, let me see if I should have showed you the video. It was at night. It was like leaving a club, like 3 a.m. or something like that. And I think it looked like they were all like working on a construction site. And she probably shouldn't have been in the area. Like, not, once again, not victim blaming, but like, it's 2023. We should be able to say, like, women, like, we know this, like, certain things we should not be doing. Whether we can say that as human beings, we should not feel, you should never walk around feeling like unsafe, but that's just not reality. We live in a fallen world. So sometimes you have to protect yourself in a certain way. Sometimes you have to use wisdom and discernment when you are going about life. So like the whole, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying, like, the whole situation, like, could have been, like, the whole thing could have been avoided. But when we go down, we shrink down to what had happened. The man hitting her with the brick. That, we cannot blame her. Like, there is no reason for him to have hit her. Unless she murdered his family, there's no reason for him to have hit her with the brick. So we can say that. I think the whole overarching thing probably could have been avoided.
I think in situations like this, 75% of the conversation needs to be, it was wrong what he did.
Right.
How can we prevent aggressive men? And how can we help other men prevent things like this? I think maybe 25% of the conversation can be, what could she have done differently? But I think majority of the conversation should always be, why did he do this? How is justice going to be served? What do the other men who sat and watched deserve? And how can this be avoided on the man's side?
Once again, you are not on Twitter. It would have been great to have your input. That is a fabulous take. Did not see that once. The entire conversation is, should these men have stepped in to protect this woman? Freeman, that is very nuanced. You are making a good point. Like, it should not have come to this. Men should be able to experience rejection, because even if she had laughed and said no, men should be able to, okay, and like move forward. Like you don't have to react aggressively, but that's not being discussed at all. I mean, people, they've called her everything but a child of God. Like it has not been, the conversation has just gone off the rails. But yikes. I do think
this is why I'm not on Twitter.
Yeah. And everybody has an opinion. So I guess, like, to wrap this up, what is like your final thoughts about this? Maybe tell us what's a good way you think to help men not be so aggressive in their response.
I think I think this goes also to a different direction, but I do think there is a such thing as toxic masculinity, and I think this is an example of it. I think men are unable to project aggression in healthy ways, and I think sometimes it comes out in these very violent outbursts. So I think changing that culture of violence among men, I think would be helpful. What about you?
I think that men, and this is going to sound silly, but men realizing that they're enough, I think, is what would help.
What does that mean?
Oh, yeah, you haven't seen Barbie. So at the end, Ken learns that he is enough. He is enough. What do I mean by that? If a girl rejects you, it's not the end of the world. I think just learning that, like, if a girl rejects you, it's not the end of the world. If you don't get this XYZ, it's not the end of the world. So you are fine. You can do other things. This one girl doesn't like you. You're enough. You don't have to change who you are. Just find another girl that likes you. I think that, and I mean, that's such a female thing for me to say, but I do think that can make a difference. Because I just don't understand how it gets to you, like, hitting someone with a brick. Like, people have yelled at me, said some terrible, awful things to me at rallies, like pro-life rallies, protests, stuff like that. I've never once thought, let me hit this person with a brick. I cannot imagine how it gets to that, other than you just having so much anger. Like, that's such anger. And I think a lot of the anger is just insecure. It comes from insecurity. I think a lot of it comes from insecurity. And if men knew they were enough, like, I think that would have made a difference.
For sure.
All right, next story. Another thing that is going viral on Twitter. And you guessed it, the 30 talk. Here is the video. Everybody, I'm going to play it. Here we go.
On a Saturday. I'm 29 and single, and I don't have kids yet. Here's what your Saturday morning looks like when you're single at 29 and you don't have a kid running around the house. I didn't rise from my bed until 10:15. Every time I thought, I should probably get up and do something. I thought, why? Nobody's making me. I'm not missing out on anything. I went to Beyonce last night, and I didn't get home until 1 a.m. And I danced and drank my little heart out, and I didn't pay a babysitter to watch my kids as I did that. And I woke up a tad hungover this morning, which is probably why I was in bed for so long. And I was just scrolling on my phone, and I saw a picture of shakshuka, and I thought, you know what sounds really good? Maybe I'm going to learn how to make shakshuka today, because I have no plans, and I don't have kids, and I don't have a husband, and I don't have errands to run. I can go to the grocery store and learn how to make shakshuka. So that's on my agenda today. Also on my agenda, probably a rewatch of some Real Housewives of New York. I'm also doing a rewatch of Normal People on Hulu, which is really spicy and I highly recommend. Weirdly, I'm into this documentary on Netflix about blue zone countries, so I've got a pretty stacked day. Anyway, I say all this to say, whenever I'm hard on myself about why I'm not married and I don't have kids and I should be further along at 29, almost 30, I wouldn't want to do anything else this Saturday. And I know that you can do all these things when you have kids and you're married, and I understand, but the effortlessness and ease of my life, just kind of focusing on myself and the shakshuka I want to make or the Beyonce concert I want to go to, really pays off when I'm hard on myself for not being where society tells me I should be in life.
Okay. The conversation online, as you can guess, everyone, is that this woman is sad and lonely. She hates children, and she also hates she hates men, and she's going to die by herself. And no one's ever going to love her. That is the conversation online. Freeman, what do you think about this conversation? Or not even the conversation, what do you think of the video? Oh,
no, why
go
don't
first?
you go
Okay.
first? I've responded to all of these last ones, and also you have a lot to say about singleness.
I do have a lot to say about singleness. I think you can take that video in one or two ways. I think that there's the way you can take it where she's like, and see, married people, my life is way more superior than everyone else's. Or you can take
like
it
the
as
Chelsea Handler.
like the Chelsea Handler one. Or you can take it as, this is just what I'm doing right now, like making shakshuka, which I meant to look up because I have no idea what shakshuka is.
Let's look it up. I want to make some.
Yeah, look it up. So you can take it either of those ways.
Ooh.
What
this
is
looks
it?
good, actually. It's some kind of like, it says it's an easy, healthy breakfast with a combination of tomatoes, onions, garlic, and poached eggs.
Oh, I'm sold.
I'm
That sounds
sold.
really good. Maybe I'll make shakshuka this weekend. I'll join the Almost 30 Club and make shakshuka.
It looks really good, actually. Okay, continue.
Okay. So you can take it one or two ways. I was really trying to listen to it for the fact of of her being kind of smug about being single, and I really didn't get that vibe from her, even though I did listen to a lot of people on the right. They got that vibe from her, and I didn't. And I think that has to go along with, we are at this moment in culture, specifically on the right, where everyone's overcorrecting. People are trying to push back on the feminist notion that women cannot be, you can't be happy within marriage and don't have your kids. So we're
very sensitive.
We're very sensitive right now. And I think that is kind of what has happened on the right with this video, because I really think she was just sharing her weekend. Like, I don't think, and sure, I don't know if she's a Christian, so, you know, if the only thing that I'm like, the hungover thing, maybe, sure. But like, if she's not a Christian, I don't think it really matters. I mean, it does for your health, but you know what I mean, you guys. So I just don't get the big deal.
Why don't you read what Matt Walsh said about it? Because people don't understand like how fed up the right is about this video.
So Matt Walsh said, her life doesn't revolve around her family and kids, so instead it revolves around TV shows and pop stars. Worst of all, she's too stupid to realize how depressing this is. And it's like, you know nothing about this woman.
Yeah, literally. You know how she spends her Saturday morning.
And not even her Saturday mornings. You know how she spent her Saturday morning once.
Yeah.
For all he knows, she could be a CASA volunteer. She could run a shelter for human trafficking survivors. Like, you know nothing about this woman other than what she has decided to do this one Saturday morning.
Right.
And I think that because, and what I've really tried to do, especially this week, because I mean, I almost muted the word 30 on my Twitter, because I mean, every conservative and their grandmother had a take, and I just could not keep reading it, because it's most of these lack a lot of grace and understanding of like what is going on in society right now. I'm sorry, no shade to anyone. If you got married before 22 and you're like, heck, 25 right now, you have no idea how difficult it is right now. And you can say whatever you want to say about, well, women are doing this. There are plenty of good, godly Christian women out there who just have not met good, godly Christian men for whatever reason. I mean, we can list out the reasons, but the biggest reason I will say is because it's just not God's timing for them right now.
Yeah.
So I almost muted the word 30 because, and I'm trying to say all of this. I really do try to be very self-aware and like try not to let these people get in my head, but it really does feel like they don't like to see women content or happy in their singleness. They don't like to see it. They'd rather you be sad and like tweeting about how lonely you are,
and then envying them,
and
like
envying
the Matt Walshes
yes.
for being married.
Yes. And
because that will feed Matt Walsh's ego if people are envious of him.
Yes. And to add to that, it also makes women more likely to settle for a man that is addicted to porn, or a man that does not have any ambitions, or a man that, I'm a Christian, and you asked him the last time he went to church. Well, you know,
last Christmas.
It makes women, because if you're feeling so sad, you're going to settle. And like, I want to give people grace and the benefit of the doubt. Matt Walsh doesn't want that, but that's how it's coming off. And more importantly, like, that's how I'm feeling it as a Christian, as someone who's supposed to be on quote unquote his side. I mean, the people on the other side, they're not going to want to have anything to do with us. And we are people like this podcast, for example.
You can't blame them.
Right. And like this podcast, Classy Chicks, podcasts like this, like these are podcasts where we are kind of like a gateway into conservatism. We're talking about cultural politics. We're talking about, and no one's going to listen to anything else we have to say if we're constantly talking about how, yeah, women, if you're single and you're still 25, if you're 25 and you're still single, you're going to die alone. And you might as well just go dig your grave now, you evil person.
Yeah.
And you probably have 100+ bodies. Like, if you talk to women that way, you're not, like, whose mind are you trying to change? Who are you trying to convince that this girl is so miserable? I can say, like, as someone who's almost 30 as well, like, I'll be 30 next year. And I think about that a lot. But I can say, like, where I am right now, as of today, you know, it could change tomorrow, the way emotions go. As of today, I'm pretty content. Like, some of the things that, and I've said this before, and I really want to encourage anyone who's single that's listening, whether you are 21 years old or 45, listen up, stop what you're doing, listen, pay attention. What has helped me is having other things and being selfless. And I've kind of talked about this before. One of the things really that has helped is having really good friends. One thing about me is I'm never going to really be lonely again. Like, I have good friends. I have a decent number of friends as well. I have multiple friend groups.
You really do.
Yeah. So like, I am constantly trying to, and I'm also trying to be a good friend. You know, there's seasons where, you know, I might not be the best friend that I can, but I try to make up for that and be a good friend to other people. So, you know, getting good friends, Christian friends that encourage you and do stuff with you. Last weekend I went to Matthew's Alive. This weekend we're going to the Greek festival. Like, there's going out doing things. Pickleball is becoming popular. I want to do pickleball eventually. Like, going to burn boot camp with friends, you know, like doing things, not just sitting at home and like thinking about how you're not married. Another thing is like staying busy in the community. So like I said, going to festivals and things like that. Also volunteering, spending your time doing things that are bigger than you, going to
making
your church, like doing things like, you don't have to spend your singleness sad, and it's okay to be happy at where you're at right now. Like, don't let these men, and I hate to say it, well, and there's women doing it, don't let these people who are supposed to be on our side, and I think that's the part that like kind of stings, and I've heard that from others, so I'm like, I'm not the only one who feels that way. That's the part that kind of stings, is like, these are people who are supposed to be on our side, and they're not understanding that, like, sometimes you can't help it. Like, you can't help that you're not married. Many people want to be married. Many women want to be married. Many women, you know, are saving themselves. Many women have repented and are saving themselves. Many women have gone down certain paths, repented, and are coming back, and they want to do the right thing, but it just hasn't happened yet. And it doesn't mean that they're going to die alone. It doesn't mean that they are stupid. It just means that they just have a different life path than you. And it's just so discouraging seeing all of these hot takes about this woman they know nothing about. Not only do you know nothing about, it's like, do you hear what you're saying? Like,
right.
Are you seeing what you're saying? Your whole life is useless and purposeless if you don't have If you're not married, you don't have kids? What?
That's
That doesn't
putting
even
your
make sense.
identity. That's putting your identity in earthly things.
Ooh, tell him,
which
Freeman.
is ultimately a sin.
Right. Yeah. So
you know, my identity is not
fine.
being a wife. My identity is not even being a Christian. My identity is not being a potential mother. Even if I was a mother, that's not my identity. My identity is that I'm a child of God.
Amen.
Just like this girl in the video, just like Matt Walsh. It's hypocritical to say that because someone is or isn't in that walk of life, that's somehow incorrect, because that would be saying that God is incorrect. And who are you to say that God's plan for someone else is incorrect? That's my thing. That's my thought.
That's good. So, you know, if you're 30 and single, it's not the end, or older than 30 and single, it's not the end of the world. Like, God's sovereign. He knows what's going to happen.
Exactly. And I think we can all resonate with her feelings of, well, why am I not where society wants me to be? I know I resonate with that. I don't know what I'm going to do after college. I mean, I'm honestly freaked out that I only have a year, because, like, aren't I supposed to have something lined up? Like, there are so many things that I can think of that I don't fit society's norms. And I think we can find common ground with this woman and all just, like, take a deep breath and, like, acknowledge that society's norms are dumb and that, like, we're not all gonna fit them perfectly, and that's okay. So I think just, like, befriending this girl, being grateful and happy for her that she's content with where she is, and as long as she's open to God's plan, let's support her, you know?
Yeah. Because I like what you said, open to God's plan, because we really don't know if she's, like, turning down tons of dates and she's like, actually, I'm gonna be single we don't know that. So, like, why are we making this assumption? Let's just be happy for people, hope that they're open to God's plan, and then we all just go about what God has called us to do. I think that's the biggest lesson in this, like, this story is, like, you should just be doing what God has called you to do. Whatever Matt Walsh and all these other people are saying doesn't matter if God hasn't called you to do that.
And let's be clear, God never calls us to be hateful. So
yeah, I mean,
if there's anybody that's not following God's plan, it would be these conservative commentators.
Yeah. And I mean, the responses were just atrocious. And I really, like I said, I try to be self-aware. I almost tweeted something that was like, and thankfully I caught myself. I don't know, I was catching myself, but thankfully I caught myself, because I'm like, you know what? Like, I try really hard not to have people get me out of my character. And I think as just I'm taking it personally, I guess, which, you know, once again, being self-aware, I guess I am taking it personally, because I am one of those girls that did not want to be single by 30. And when you listen to the way they talk about it, it's people, like, they just don't know. Like, they just don't know, and they don't understand, and they get so much. I mean, they get shared, and people get comment, and people just stack and stack and stack. So it's also really good, everybody, take breaks from social media. Mute some of the words. Like, do it. And also, last thing I'm going to say on this, being married and having kids is beautiful. We just talked about how family is the foundation that we are trying to build everything on. So these are great, wonderful things. There's nothing wrong with them. But being married and being single, there's not, one isn't better than the other. They're just different stages of life.
Exactly. And both are perfect because they're God's plan. Because God is perfect.
Beautiful. We're going to do one last quick. I mean, it's going to be quick. Because I have to talk about this. I just need other people to hear this TikTok.
This next one's so funny.
Because it is the saddest thing. It's like watching a plane crash. That's not the term. A car crash. You're not going to watch a plane crash. It's like watching a car crash. All right, here we go.
My boyfriend and I have been living together for 1.5 years now, and he's moving out next week. We're not breaking up. It's just a new phase for us. He's moving in with his brother, and he's always dreamed of living with his little brother. So who am I to get in the way of that? It's not some kind of traditional contract that you sign, like once you move in with your boyfriend, you must live together until marriage, and then you have kids, and I'm also 26 and he's only 24, so if he's gonna live with his little brother, like, now's the time to do it. But don't get me wrong, when he first told me the idea, I was like, little fool. As I thought more about it, I was like, wait, this is a great idea. Particular, and I have a lot of sleeping issues. We've also been together for 3.5 years now. Now we're gonna get to live apart. And then when we come together, it's like more intentional time. Sometimes when you live with your partner, it's easy to like exist around each other. It's a fun chapter that I'm ready for. And he's only living like a mile away from me, so he's not going too far.
Okay, before either of us comment, let me read to you guys some of the comments on this post. Someone said, he's putting in the 2-week notice, girl. Another person said, cute, he made it your idea. And another person said,
gosh.
Did they not grow up living together? Someone said, who's going to tell her? This one, I was just like, okay, this comment wins. This person says, the 3 post breakup needs he has strategically sorted out for himself. A roof over his head, safety, and companionship.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah, what were your initial thoughts?
I honestly just like, I guess I'm just not as gullible. I guess I am as gullible because honestly, I was like, this is neat. Because I agree that like, Mallory.
Oh, Freeman, I'm so glad you're married. Oh my God, girly, what? No.
I mean, she's right. You don't have to like, there's no contract. I mean,
Freeman.
Okay, you've got to be kidding if you think you know what's going on with her. You saw 60 seconds of her speaking, what may or may not have even been true. Don't act like you know what's going on in her life.
True. With the information we have, I'm making an educated guess that this man is setting up to break up with her. It does not make any sense to live with someone and then just go, I'm gonna live with my brother. Like, that's just not, like, men don't think that way. Like, that's just not logical. What would be, oh, well, I do sleep kind of funny. How did you come to that conclusion? Did he tell you that?
Like, no, she doesn't tell us what that is.
Oh, girl, this girl is about to be broken up with. What do you guys think?
I understand why you feel that way. And I understand that it totally looks like a train wreck. But like, again, back to our last question, who are we to make an assumption about this person?
Okay, we're making a educated guess on the situation with the facts here that you've been given from her conversation. We're making an educated guess. Take her out of it. If one of your friends, in a world where I don't believe in God, I was living with my boyfriend, and then I go, you know what? We've been living together for 1.5 years. He said he wants to live with his brother. So I'm going to take on the full brunt of the rent, and I'm going to live by myself. Yep. He's packing up, not going to contribute to the rent anymore after we've been both splitting it, and he is going to move down the street to live with his brother when his brother could have moved in with us, or, you know, if he was living that close, what would be the point of him just packing up and moving to the brother if he's just down the street? Wouldn't it make sense to just stay here and the brother can come visit us? But you know what? We're moving out and everything is okay.
Okay, I agree with you that everything is not okay. I agree that something very fishy is going on. But I don't think it's fair to say they're doomed.
Okay. I think they're doomed. I think she's being very delulu right now, and I'm sorry for her. I wish she had friends to say, hey, girly, like, you break up with him before he breaks up with you. Well, no, I don't think they should break up. I think they should have a serious conversation.
Have the courage to do it if he's going to do it.
You know, but he secured the 3 things he needed, and he might do it in a couple weeks. We'll see. Well, she'll never tell, because if it were me, I would make fake pictures of us getting married to prove the whole internet wrong, because everybody thinks they're breaking up. I would make fake, and 10 years from now, and we had our child, and people would have no idea. Like, you have to double down into it. You can't agree with the whole internet if they're coming at you. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that the relationship is over and she's just, trying to hold on to
in
something
La La Land?
in La La Land? Or do you think he genuinely just wanted to live with the brother he grew up with? She did a follow-up video. They grew up together. And he wants to move right down the street. So let us know. If you enjoyed this episode, let us know that as well. Actually, that's probably the most important thing you need to let us know if you enjoyed the episode. Answer all the other questions, but let us know if you enjoyed the episode. And if you did, leave a 5-star review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and then write a review on Apple Podcasts. It really does mean a lot. I read all of them. And it really does help us in the algorithm because we want as many girls to listen to this and join our community. I was going to say tribe, but that's so like 2016. Join our community. And you can also join the community in a virtual form by joining our app. The link is in the description and everything. Couple of questions we asked. Would you take the money for the dollhouse? Do you think random men have an obligation to protect you? And then do you think that this lady is very delusional and that she is going to be broken up with sooner rather than later? Let us know.
Also, do you think that the other girl is delusional for spending her Saturday morning making shaksha?
Yes, let us know. And if you've tried shaksha, let us know how that tastes. I would really like to know what the hype over this shaksha is. It sounds delicious. Honestly, when you said tomato, onion, and garlic, I was like, oh, I'm sold. I don't put it on anything and I'll eat it.
Okay, you have to look at pictures of it. The pictures do, like, my description doesn't do it justice.
Okay, I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, I'm sending you it right now.
Oh, perfect. Okay, I see. Oh, this looks delicious. Oh my goodness, you guys. I need to learn how to make shaksha.
Wait,
wow.
Can we get together and do brunch?
Wait, we should. Those are the girls' outing. Wait, we should though.
Honestly. Okay, well, that sounds good. Well, we'll see you all then.
Yes. So if you've made it before, let us know how it is and let us know how yummy it is. I think I might try to make this weekend. In all seriousness.
Maybe Saturday morning.
Yeah, maybe Saturday morning. That's it. Thank you guys for listening. Love you. Make sure you share and have a great day, night, evening, wherever you're listening. Bye.
Bye.